On September 16th, Ubisoft will be releasing the first expansion for Shadows, Claws of Awaji, and a few people have been asking me what I found and if I'm looking forward to it. Well, I'm looking forward to it. I thought Bordeaux did a really good job with the Wrath of the Druids DLC for Valhalla, and also obviously Mirage, and there's some new gameplay mechanics which should be fun if I'm actually reading the data correctly. So here we go. Obviously it'll be free of story spoilers, focus on the locations, history and mythology, and of course the new game mechanics. As always, it's worth remembering that this is my interpretation of what I've found based on the previous game's data and also a healthy dose of speculation. Hopefully you also know the script by now, guys. There will be spoilers, there will be swearing, and I will be drinking. And apologies in advance for my butchery of the Japanese language. So let's start by looking at what's been officially announced by Ubisoft and of course the post-launch dynamic duo of Simon and Dan. So there you have it, new area to explore, a quest to retrieve a lost artifact, a new enemy faction in the Sanzoku Ippa, one new weapon for Naue, namely the bowstaff, and very much an emphasis on the player being tracked, hunted, and having to survive traps and ambushes. Now, as you're all discerning viewers, I mean, after all, how else would you be here? You'll know Awaji is this island in the Seto Inland Sea, and is separated from the main game map by the Bay of Osaka, and at the time was of great strategic importance as a route from the Kansai region, where Shadow's story was taking place, and the island of Shikoku in the south. You can see from the Google Maps that Awaji's actual shape and size are unsurprisingly different in reality, and it does give you a good idea of how by blockading two fairly narrow channels it was possible to control access to the south of the island of Honshu, as it's now known. Now, a lot actually depends on which year the expansion is set, but obviously with Nobunaga being dead, it's sometime after 1582, so the likely rulers of Awaji would be the Hakasuka clan, led by Hakasuka Ieyasu, who was appointed by Hideyoshi and was based in Awa in Shikoku. In mythology and Shinto belief, Awaji is actually thought to be the first island of the Japanese archipelago to be created or given birth by the gods Izanami and Izanagi. This was done by using a spear to swirl the mortal world until a piece of that mass dripped off the tip of the spear and became an island. Okay, so let's look at locations I've found for the game map and give them some context. I assume Awaji will actually be a separate map in game and appropriately sized. I'm hoping we get the entire island to explore and sail around, as we do have some locations actually in the sea itself, and it may also give us a break from being constantly hunted. Erie is actually referenced in the data quite a bit, so it sounds like Bordeaux are focusing on giving us the atmosphere that they delivered on in Wrath of the Druids, and what little footage we have so far would seem to back this up. So on the map, markers that are in black are found in the game data itself. The ones in red aren't, but are significant enough that I'm guessing they'll be in the finished expansion. Again, it's worth bearing in mind that the data that I find is more like pointers that's left off from the earlier game development. It's very much the unfinished article, but it does give us some fun little hints about what to look forward to. And after all, it is one thing that the devs always deliver on, in my view, is the maps and historical locations in the AC games. So here we go with the Lonely Pedder Guide to Awaji. Don't worry, I won't dwell too much on those sweet, sweet onions. I'll pop up some additional info on these locations, so you can pause the vid if you want and read up, rather than listen to me drone on. We have the usual assortment of towns, castles, temples, and important landmarks. So firstly with towns, we have Awaya, Sumota, Yura, Fukura, Kamaguchi, which is a fishing village, which also apparently has a significant bandit camp. Particular note is the Sumata safe house, as I assume this is our main base in Awaji, and where we can fast travel back to the main map. I'm sure it's not the only safe house we'll have, but I'm hoping, like Valhalla DLCs, it has a forge, etc., to help keep travel to the original map to a minimum. And now with castles, we have one at Awaya, Sumoto, Yura, Shichi, and likely the ruins of the Shuasu castle. There's also an entry for Yagi Manor, which I'm guessing relates to the Yagayoka Inaka, where originally there was a castle, but it was destroyed in the early 16th century, and at one point was Awaji's earliest known provincial capital. As for shrines, we have Izanagi Jingu, one of the most important shrines in Japan, Iwagami Shrine, Tosanji, Miyoshi Temple, Senkoji Temple, and Yuzuhura Shrine. And finally, as for landmarks, there's a few candidates for the actual island called Onigashima that was formed by the mythological drop from the spear I mentioned earlier. This includes Ashima near Iwaya, Nushima with its rock which has a heart shape in it. I'm hoping the map will include the Naruto whirlpools, as the devs did a great job with the seasons and the breakables and shadows, so I'd love to see them have a crack at a physics-based whirlpool. Without spoiling events at these specific areas, we also have listings for secret passages, reservoirs, water rooms, a bowmaster, tea ceremonies, areas where we can't use specific weapons, and a variety of locations for significant encounters with new and some returning characters. There will be some sort of preview activity. I'm assuming this will be in the update that happens in early September. I'm sure everyone can guess why we go to Awaji and the nature of the artifact and at least one of the returning characters. I'm not sure of exactly how this will play out, but in Wrath of the Druids and Siege of Paris, we did have some interactions in the main map before venturing to the new region, something to set the scene and likely act as a refresher for those of us who completed the main story arc a while back. Okay, so far so much the same kind of thing we're used to. Although I haven't found any specifics regarding side quests particularly, I'm sure we'll have the usual suspects of temples, shrines, etc. So let's get to the good stuff. What's changing to make us feel hunted and spice up the existing game? So again, guys, spoilers. I'm going to be talking about the new enemies and their game mechanics, so if you'd rather have everything as a surprise, go no further. And of course, this is my interpretation of the data based on the previous games. Still here? Okay then. Unsurprisingly, there'll be a target board containing our main 4 targets, and we have listings for secondary targets in the north, south and west of Awaji. Now, getting to our main 4 targets, I found that we will have an overall leader for the Sanzoku Ippa and what are referred to as the 3 lieutenants in the new enemy archetypes. We have the ambushers, the roamers and the spies. I actually think we got a bit of a sneak peek at these lieutenants when Charlie Guimau posted about his visit to Ubisoft Bordeaux recently. If we have a little zoom in on the poster on the wall, I think these 3 guys in the middle are the actual lieutenants, and up in the other corner we have 4 people, one of whom I guess is also the leader. The names of these 3 plus the overall leader are listed in the game data, but I'm not going to give them in case their identities are discovered during the game itself. It's also worth noting that all 3 branches have different states, which based on previous games, this actually usually means that as you progress through the game, the group structure changes, i.e. larger groups, different composition, overall making them harder to defeat. The assumption being we kill the 3 lieutenants and then are able to tackle the leader of the Sanzoku Ippa themselves. So firstly, let's look at the enemy group that I reckon we've seen the most of in the previews, that being the ambushers. So even in the artwork, we seem to get an idea of what to expect from this branch. They're quite difficult to spot, and I'm hoping they'll be similarly tricky to spot in game. They appear to be most like existing shinobi in Shadows, but I'm guessing that unlike the main game, these won't actually show up under Eagle Vision, so more like the bandit ambushers that we had in Valhalla. And I'm guessing this fearsome looking dude is their lieutenant. And here we see a tripwire trap being triggered, which looks like an explosive, but the data also seems to show noisemaker and poison traps. One of the things that I'm excited to see is something I wanted in the base game, Makabishi, which are Japanese caltrops that were used to deter pursuers or as an area denial weapon used like a mine. We have some concept art for these from the very talented Tyler Ryan on ArtStation, and you should definitely check out the artwork for Shadows, it's really good. Now these are listed as traps, but I'm hoping they're not just static and that ambushers can actually dynamically use them to deter us as well. Sadly, I can't find anything to show that Naue will get to use these, and I'm sure Ubi would have highlighted them if we could. But hopefully, as Shadows progresses, we may get to use them. I know early gamers now, I would have loved to have these bad boys to drop behind me as I ran away constantly. I really did actually miss this kind of tool as a trap that we had in the customizable traps in Mirage and the various arrow ones from Valhalla. Next up, we have the roamers, and I suspect that's who these guys are. So it looks like they may actually also form roadblocks as well as actively hunting us. And I have a feeling that this is their lieutenant. As I said, my best guess is that this branch is going to be doing the active hunting, acting like Phalakas in Origins or the Zealots in Valhalla if you don't burn the scroll from Leofrith, which then cause them to attack you on sight for the rest of the game. With Shadows after update 1.06, we also had the open world alarm system, so you could have groups of guardians hunting you in the world as well. In the data, they're always referred to in the plural, so I'm assuming that they hunt in groups with possibly a mini-boss or sergeant type in charge, as several are actually listed as named and their weapon archetype, like named Roma Cannibal, named Roma Swordmaster, Agahata, etc. There's also info which makes me think that to get to the overall lieutenant, we need to kill at least some of these mini-boss secondary targets, as there's a kill counter to trigger and an event in a specific location, which obviously I won't spoil. And now, fittingly, the branch we've probably seen nothing of in the trailers, the Spies branch. Now, I'm hoping these use a mechanic that I've heard was discussed on Andy Reload's Discord back in the day at the conclusion of the Champions of Faith arc in the River Raids of Valhalla. As a refresher, once you completed that, Eivor got this letter, and we were discussing how Ubisoft could spice this up rather than just having more champions showing up like the Zealots. Sadly, it looks like the devs just abandoned this, but the idea I had was that what if, unlike normal enemies, we couldn't see these champions with oversight, that they were disguised. So you go in and casually try and blend in with a group of monks or something, and one of them drops his cassock, and they're fully armoured and attack you, or even just ordinary civilians when you're walking around suddenly trying to kill you. So I was pleasantly surprised to see this entry for a disguised hitman in the Awaji data. So I'm assuming this will play out with them not showing up on Eagle Vision, so anyone could attack you. They could be any NPC, official clan soldiers, shopkeepers, servants, passers-by, anyone. No more scanning for threats, you actually can't trust anybody. And now the spies aren't going to have it all their own way, as it does seem that we have an option to be disguised ourselves in some missions, a bit like the Eunuch one in Mirage or the fake Vikings in the last chapter of Valhalla. Oh, it also looks like we have the return of following missions too. Ugh. Can't even trust inanimate objects anymore, as some of these will be booby-trapped and may even have a killer waiting for us. At least one of these is in-game, but I don't want to spoil the surprise. Yes, puppets. Awaji was famous for the Ninyogo Jajuri style of puppetry, which is still popular today. Now, I'm not sure what the devs have in mind with the puppets, but if, like me, you find all puppets inherently creepy, unless Jim Henson's involved, and even then, I'm sure it will add to the atmosphere of the expansion. And yeah, side-scrolling. The devs in Shadows certainly seem to like mixing things up. We've got a few references to some form of side-scrolling activity. I'm guessing a section of the game. After all, Ubi did the Assassin's Creed Chronicles games. I'm not sure how it's going to work out in the gameplay itself. Maybe our protagonists get on some trippy shiitake mushrooms or something, but I am intrigued. So there you have it. Some good stuff in my view. I hope you're looking forward to being taken out of your comfort zone and becoming prey on Awaji, and of course getting reunited with some people from our protagonist's past. Cheers.